From the artist's mouth to your ears, welcome to the very first Behind the Bard video course, where we, the dramatists making the play, give you everything you need to have a great time seeing Shakespeare's Macbeth. Macbeth is one of William Shakespeare's most famous tragedies, with questions about free will, regicide, and lots of bloody murder. And yes, it's the one with the witches. I'm going to take you through the play so that you can not only understand what's going on, but so you can also enjoy the rich language and the artistic choices that we make. Macbeth was most likely written in 1606 or 1607. King James VI of Scotland had been made King James I of England when Elizabeth I died in 1603 without an heir. James I was a bit different from his predecessor. He was a larger supporter of the arts than Liz, part of which was becoming Shakespeare's company patron. So they went from being the Lord Chamberlain's men to the King's men. He also had a mild obsession with witchcraft. He published his own book about it called Demonology, which encouraged the detection and punishment of witchcraft. So, what's a royally sponsored theater company supposed to do? Kiss the butt of your royal patron and write a play about Scottish kings and witchcraft. Macbeth continues to pervade our collective consciousness through its portrayal of fate versus free will. Are we ever fully in control of our circumstances? In the end, what does it matter? And what is someone in a situation where they don't feel in control supposed to do? These are all questions that Macbeth asks himself and the story asks of us. The witches' prophecies concerning Macbeth almost all come true. And while this is a spoiler-free zone, I encourage you to watch the play for the prophecies that the witches tell that may not come true during the play. And then what implications does that have for the world of the play after the events of the play? The witches in Macbeth, much like in the 17th century, continue to fascinate audiences today. Directors, actors, and designers interpret the witches to do all sorts of things, like portray the divine feminine, showcase a class struggle, or show off some badass choreography. The versatility of Shakespeare's language allows this versatility of interpretation while still being Shakespeare's witches. There are many famous phrases and words that come from Shakespeare's Macbeth, including double, double, toil, and trouble, which has popped up in all sorts of pop culture references. The gross list makes its way into Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban film, used by John Williams in his musical score. Macbeth is also the very first recorded use of the word assassination. Shakespeare takes the word assassin, meaning someone who kills silently, which had come from other etymological sources, and adds the suffix ation, which then makes it a noun as opposed to a person. Assassination. Shakespeare is very famous for making all sorts of words, but mostly what he was doing was writing down the phrases that he was hearing in real life, or doing what we do today and taking words that exist and other words or suffixes or prefixes that exist and throwing them together to create all new words. Finally, Macbeth contains the invention of the knock-knock joke. While the modern knock-knock joke might have been perfected in the United States in 1936, Macbeth contains the phrase, knock knock, who's there, uttered by a character who is comically jabbing at the audience while having drunken hallucinations. There are many other phrases and words that have originated with Macbeth, and I encourage you to see what you find you've heard before. Here's a brief synopsis of the play Macbeth. Macbeth begins with two Scottish generals, Macbeth and Banquo, who encounter three witches upon a blasted heath. The witches prophesy that Macbeth will be Thane of Glamis, which he is. A Thane is a type of governor. He will be Thane of Cawdor, which he doesn't think he will be, and king hereafter. Then when Banquo asks, they tell Banquo that he won't be kings, but his sons will be kings. Then the witches vanish, and a few other noblemen show up to say, hey, Macbeth, Thane of Glamis, you are also now Thane of Cawdor, because he was a traitor and has been killed. This puts the seed of hope into Macbeth's brain that he could be king. He writes a letter home to his wife. Once King Duncan thanks Macbeth and Banquo for their service, he names his son Malcolm, the Prince of Cumberland, or the next heir to the throne of Scotland, completely derailing Macbeth's hopes. Lady Macbeth receives word of the witch's unfolding prophecy and tells the audience that she will do everything she can to make sure that her husband becomes king. Then a messenger comes in and says that the king is coming there tonight. Then Lady M asks all spirits that tend on mortal thoughts to come and de-sex her so that she may convince her husband to kill the king. When Macbeth comes in to her, she begins to convince him that they must kill Duncan that night. Macbeth does it, and Lady Macbeth ensures Duncan's guards take the fall when a knock at the door awakes the porter, who lets in Macduff, who has arrived early to wake the king. Once the regicide is discovered, Macbeth kills the guards. Malcolm and Donalbain, the king's two sons, decide to flee to England and Ireland, deciding that it isn't safe for them. Macbeth is named king, but it doesn't sit right with Banquo. Macbeth then begins to worry about the prophecy and plans to have Banquo and his son Fleance killed. The murderers wait for Banquo and Fleance and ambush them, killing Banquo, but Fleance escapes. At his coronation feast, Macbeth finds out about this and sees Banquo's ghost soon after at his banquet table, but no one else sees it. When his madness is explained and everyone departs, Macbeth determines that he's going to see the witches again. The witches tell Macbeth, "No man that's born of woman shall e'er have power over thee," and Macbeth shall not be deposed until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane Castle. But then when pressed even further, they show a line of kings stretching out to the crack of doom, and Banquo pointing at them for his, meaning Banquo's line of kings will last until the end of time. When the witches vanish, a thane shows up and tells Macbeth that Macduff has fled to England. Macbeth determines then to have Macduff and his entire family killed. Meanwhile, Macduff attempts to convince Malcolm to return to Scotland with an army to depose Macbeth. After proving his loyalty, Malcolm reveals that England has lent them 10,000 soldiers and a general in order to invade Scotland and take the country back. Just then the Thane of Ross comes in and tells Macduff that his entire family has been slaughtered. Macduff vows revenge on Macbeth. Lady Macbeth has been sleepwalking, and her nurse and her doctor confide in each other about how best to take care of her and what they overhear. Then Lady M enters, scrubbing her hands together as if washing them, and utters strange words, "Out, out, damn spot." The nurse and the doctor both conclude that she has seen some stuff, and that there's nothing that they can do for her. Macbeth feverishly prepares to defend Dunsinane Castle, while the invading army sets down just past the Birnam Wood. Then the cry of women is heard, presaging the suicide of Lady Macbeth. Then Macbeth is entirely alone when a report comes in that the forest has begun to move towards the castle. All the prophecies beginning to come true, Macbeth decides to fight it out in the castle. The invading army throws down the branches of the trees that they cut down to hide their numbers and invades the castle. Young Seward, a young soldier, finds Macbeth and is immediately slaughtered by the superior soldier. Macduff comes back on with the severed Macbeth's head and claims Malcolm the new king of Scotland, thus ending the epic and bloody tragedy. Here's a breakdown of the principal characters in the play Macbeth. Macbeth, the general who was prophesied to become king, whose wife then convinces him to murder the king, and so he becomes king and is eventually deposed. Lady Macbeth, his co-conspirator and partner in regicide, who eventually goes mad with the guilt of it and kills herself. Banquo, Macbeasel's best friend, fellow general, and at one time thought to be King James I's ancestor. Banquo's son is Fleance. The witches, who are described in the text as the Weird Sisters. The term weird comes from the Germanic wired, which means to control destiny, which is a brilliant term to use in this case, considering what the witches do or reveal to Macbeth. The witches have been portrayed from everything from your typical old hags around a cauldron, to Greek goddesses, to people experiencing homelessness, to a hazmat team, and many, many more. They are the external relationship that put pressure on Macbeth and moves the story forward. Duncan is the king at the beginning of the play and is shortly killed for his throne. Malcolm and Donalbain are the king's two sons. Malcolm is named the Prince of Cumberland, or Duncan's heir, right after Macbeth's stunning military victories and his prophecy. Once Duncan is killed, Malcolm runs to England to avoid Macbeth, and he has no machinations for the throne himself. Macduff, the Thane of Fife. Remember, Thane is a governor of a territory, and Fife is a particular region of Scotland. Macduff has a family who he cares for just as much as his beloved Scotland, and when his family is slaughtered, he vows revenge on Macbeth, thus inserting himself into the plot of the play. All of these character dynamics work together in order to create the themes that we see in the play. The main theme explored in Macbeth can be expressed as, does anyone truly escape their fate? Is Macbeth fated to become king, killing many others along the way, and die in the process? Or is it a man with free will, influenced by his surroundings and circumstances, using the actions of others to excuse his own ambitious plans? The character dynamics in Macbeth are beautifully situated to illustrate the depth of this thematic question. Lady Macbeth says even before Macbeth comes in the door that he is too full of the milk of human kindness to kill Duncan and become king. She plans to push for killing Duncan despite Macbeth's ideas. Duncan heaps praise upon Macbeth for repelling two invading armies, and then immediately turns around and names his son Malcolm the Prince of Cumberland, or his heir, which that gives Macbeth dark imaginings and a foothold for Lady M. Banquo and Macbeth, fast friends on the battlefield, are torn asunder by the witch's words and Macbeth's actions. Banquo is content to let the prophecies play out, without my stir, as he tells Macbeth, for his sons may become kings. Would the prophecy have ever come true if Macbeth and Banquo hadn't heard it? Would it have come true had Macbeth not killed Duncan? Those are the questions I encourage you to ask yourself as you watch the play. Here are some Macbeth-specific terms for you to know. Equivocate, which means to lie by omission, or rather, think the truth while speaking only half the truth. This concept comes from the Catholics in England at the time of Shakespeare, who, when called under oath, would speak the truth as far as they knew, but then think the rest of the truth, knowing that only God could hear their thoughts. And so they weren't technically lying because God could hear the truth. But the heretical English Protestant courts couldn't. Equivocation became a huge buzzword right around the time Macbeth was being written, and it is mentioned several times in the play. Hecate is the goddess of witchcraft in the Greek pantheon, and is portrayed as the leader of the witches in the play. The scene that Hecate is written in is the double-double toil and trouble scene, the cauldron scene. Most of the time, Hecate is removed for a couple of reasons. One, she doesn't move the plot forward, but she does provide something else for the witches to play against. Otherwise, we only see the witches when we see Macbeth. It is theorized that the Hecate scene in Macbeth was inserted later by Thomas Middleton. This is thought because of the fact that it doesn't move the story forward. Unsex. Lady Macbeth has a speech where she pleads to the spirits that tend on mortal thoughts to come and unsex her. This means to defeminize her, to take away all her feminine care, all her soft things that make her soft, so that she may have the strength to convince Macbeth to kill Duncan, or perhaps even kill Duncan herself if need be. And now we're going to talk through a particular monologue in the play. This monologue comes at Act 2, Scene 1, and is traditionally referred to as the dagger speech. This is a handout that you already have. If you pull it up in front of you, you will see that the text is all printed out there in full. Macbeth's monologue, what we call a monologue, or a soliloquy, meaning he's alone on stage. And you will notice that there are highlighted words with their modern equivalents underneath them to help you understand the speech, and then off to the right is also rewritten the paraphrasing in modern English, the full speech. You will also notice that there are colored boxes around certain segments of the text. These are the dramatic beats, or where the mood or the topic shifts in the speech. You'll notice that some of them are perfectly on verse lines, and some of them are jagged like puzzle pieces. I encourage you to read through this and see if you agree with where the ebbs and flows are. Also, I'm going to give you background context to this particular speech, what we call the given circumstances, what's happening in the story and the world before Macbeth starts speaking, that prompts him to start speaking. So what's just happened? Macbeth has heard the prophecy, he's in his castle, it's after the party, Duncan is now everyone's going to sleep now in the castle, and Macbeth has this plan to kill Duncan. He's made plans with Lady M, he has a signal he's waiting for that tells him it's all clear, go in and kill the king. And he runs into Banquo and his son Fleance, who then are talking. It's up late at night. It's midnight, they establish in the scene. Banquo goes off to bed with Fleance, and Macbeth is left alone on stage when he begins this speech. This speech is also very popular because of what it does dramatically. Shakespeare is very good, or rather, Shakespeare didn't use a lot of stage directions or prompting in that way. Instead, things come through the dialogue. For example, right in the first line of the speech, he says, "Is this a dagger which I see before me?" Pretty much tells you he has to be looking either at a real or an imaginary dagger. So we go through the speech. "Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou marshalest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. There's no such thing. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is this bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now o'er the one half world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarumed by his sentinel the wolf, whose howls his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides, towards his design moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm-set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. Whiles I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell." And that's the speech. So I encourage you to try it now. Try the speech, and where those colored boxes change, where those lines are, is a cue for you to change something. Whether you want to think about it in terms of your tactic, what you're doing, or you want to think about it in terms of emotion, what you're expressing, or in terms of what you're talking about. And let the language drive you. But either way, I encourage you to change something and see what it does to the monologue and see if it makes it more easy to understand, harder to understand, and go from there. And then try it with other speeches in Macbeth if you feel so inclined. See if you can find the beat shifts there and see what the language and the meter does for you. We hope you've enjoyed this very first Behind the Bard video course. We've made this public, but future video courses will be on Patreon. We encourage you to take a look at Patreon, where you can get not only these video courses, but free tickets, discounted tickets, and many more other unique perks. Check us out on patreon.com/the Boise Bard Players.